Hey guys, it's Tricia Carr. I have new exciting things going on with my Mystic Arts Academy. You can now subscribe to receive all of the live monthly content for about a third of the investment of a single class. Included are at least one downloadable guided meditation per month, 2 live events ranging from classes, channeled messages, group readings, intuitive development guidance, Q&A sessions, and tons of community. You'll also have access to a private Facebook community for fellowship and support, and this space is kept super sacred and high vibrational. Your subscription gives you access to the whole library of classes and live events, which are on a vast array of topics. All events are offered online by Zoom video call, and many are also offered live in person at my studio here in Los Angeles. Subscribing to the Mystic Arts Academy is also a way for you to support the Charmed Life podcast and engage on a deeper level. I'm offering the subscription at a super low rate of $22 a month. Joining now locks in this rate for as long as you're subscribed. Click on the description of this episode or go to my website, triciacarcharm.com, and click on Mystic Arts Academy. I look forward to connecting. Welcome to Charmed Life, a multimedia podcast discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I am your host, Tricia Carr. Welcome to this episode of Charmed Life. I think we're in about the 160 range of these episodes, these full-length episodes. Now, if it is your first time joining, welcome. Thank you so much. You can catch this on any podcast outlet, and it is also multimedia, meaning that we also do a video of this podcast. So you can check it out on YouTube, youtube.com/Tricia Carr, or on my broadcast window on my website, triciacarcharm.com. You can catch it live. We live stream these every Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific. And so this is the full-length episode we do once a week on Sundays, and I do mini episodes in between where I'm teaching on different topics. At this time of the recording of this particular episode, I am in a series for mini episodes, the metaphysics of the Bible, and it's really fun. I've been wondering if it's going to be controversial from either side of, the perspectives, people who are maybe evangelical Christian or some other kind of traditional perspective, or people who are metaphysically minded and are like, why are you using that book? But it's only been exciting and people alchemizing all of it. But, I think whatever does happen with this series is really exciting. And if it kicks stuff up in us, then that just means it's an invitation for healing. So just to let you guys know that that's going on and to check that out as well. And I would love if you would like, subscribe, share, comment. And with that said, I'm really excited to welcome on my special guest. She is a transformational leader, celebrity coach, law of attraction expert, and channel of a group of ascended masters called the Quantum Council of Light. So welcome to Charmed Life, Christy Whitman.
Thank you so much, Tricia. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Oh my gosh, I got chills just like getting into the energy of it. I would love for you to open up the discussion and just tell everyone, I don't know, your path, your journey, and all of the exciting work that you're doing. Let us get into it.
Okay, so I was raised in a very middle class, home. My dad really provided well for my mom and my sister and I, and but it was never enough because we were trained that way. We were very, very seeped in a lack mindset where nothing my dad did, nothing and we did, nothing was ever enough. We never felt good enough. And so I was raised where if you want to be happy, you need to go to college to get a degree, find a guy, have the body, have the money in the bank, all that, and then you'll be happy. So at 26 years old, I found myself with all those things. I was engaged, lived in Chicago with my best friend, had my cute little ideal body, had money in the bank, this great career. And I felt so dissatisfied. I felt so empty. And I felt this like hunger, this thirst for something more. And I was raised Catholic, not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, it was a very big disconnect. And I felt like instead of this God person being outside of myself, it's like and I felt like I couldn't access him because I did too many bad things, right? It's like the carrot. If you're a good girl, I felt like, oh, well, I might as well be a bad girl because I've done so many bad things that, that I'm not going to go to heaven. So I was feeling this just confusion of where I was, where I stand in it. How do I become happy? And obviously with that deep asking, it led me to moving to California, and I met a meditation teacher. And she said something to me. Now, this is like 22, 23 years ago. She said something to me that I'd never heard before, yet rocked me to my core. I knew to be true. And it wasn't around the time of the internet. So it's not like you could find this information on podcasts and stuff like that. She said to me, you create your own reality. And I went, true.
Yeah, like, yes.
Yeah. It was like, I just knew that. And she said, and you're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you by the way you think. And I went, oh, wow. And I had never even had a thought about what do I think. It was just an automatic, that level of consciousness where it's like the thoughts I think are the reality they're true. No way to question them. Are they right or wrong or positive or negative or any of that? So I started paying attention to my thoughts, and I could not believe how negative I was, how critical, how judgmental, not only just about myself, but I felt like I was in a boxing ring with God, with other people, with traffic, where everything was just very negative. And so I started to become more mindful about what I was focusing on. And as I did that, and I started really developing a meditative practice, knowing myself to be more than just this physical person, but actually allowing myself to feel that there's more to myself, things started magically, happening in my life. And so I remember 5 years in, I had met and married this really wonderful guy because I'd always attracted bad boys. So I was with this really nice guy. I had absolutely no debt. I had money in the bank. I had a great career. And yet here I was again, knowing all this information, learning about the 7 essential laws, really deliberately manifesting life that I wanted. And I was still having issues with focusing on what the problems were in my life or focusing on what wasn't enough. And I had a book download through me literally at 1:05 in the morning. It was like I got that voice that was just speaking in my ear, which I now understand to be channeling, which I didn't understand that back then. And I got up and I had to write down what I was hearing because I couldn't go back to sleep. So I was writing, my hand became not my own. It was like, it's just, it was independent of myself. And after I read what I had just written down, I was like, wow, that information really helped me from where I was. And so 7 days in a row, 7 nights, 1:05 in the morning, that had happened. The book is seven chapters. So I published a book. I started speaking on the contents of the book, and people started asking me to coach them. Now, this is 19 years ago. Wow. So this is a long time ago. This is before coaching. Like when people would say, "Ooh, are you a coach?" In California, I'd be like a cheerleading coach. I didn't have a reference for coaching.
Right.
And people would say, "No, like a coach." I'm like, people they get paid to do that? So I would have people just, I was a pharmaceutical rep, right? And I would have people just call me on the phone, and I would take them through different energy techniques and different things to help them become more abundant mindset than lack mindset. Or seeped in the lack mindset. And they started shifting, and they were back to me all these amazing things that were happening because they were applying the 7 essential laws. And I just loved it so much that I went to actual school and got certified to be a coach. And as I continued through my career as a pharmaceutical rep, I just kept learning and applying. And I was winning awards and winning huge bonuses and recognition and all these things. It was just like massive success. And until I went full time in my coaching business. And since then, it's been about 13 years. Not only am I teaching, but now I'm actually taking that ability to channel into healing. And I'll never forget the date, on September 17th last year, that's my son's birthday, the Council of Light came through while I was doing a healing session with a group of people. And they've been with me ever since. And now I just, I basically tune out, they come in, and the information the healings that they give, the information that they give is just truly remarkable. And it's amazing that when I'm doing a healing session with someone, or like in a group setting, or even in like a one-on-one, and someone asks for like, I feel I've got this block, they'll be able to pinpoint exactly the day, the time, when it happened, the situation, something I could never even guess or know about. And the person, like, they'll say something happened, you're 6, my parents got a divorce. Boom. And it's like, that's where the heart closed down. That's where the energy got contained. That's where the imprint happened. That's where the decision, the belief solidified. And then from there. And so once you release that energy, that imprint, and you realign with, source energy, with pure positive energy, it changes the molecular structure of the human being. And it's really remarkable.
And so what a fascinating, phenomenal story. And so it was just a little over a year ago that the Quantum Council of Light came into the broadcast, and they came in spontaneously through speech, essentially. Like you were speaking, or is it more of the translating? Because people do different kinds of channeling. Just curious.
No, it was full on. Like, so what happened, and like I said, this happened in stages where all my books, I've written 7 books, all of them have been like a download. It wasn't like, okay, today I'm going to write a book and then I go and write, or I'm going to write a chapter in my book. It is all downloaded information. And then I add stories and things to it, but it is all I call it an assignment. So for years I've been having that level of channeling. And then, as I kind of came out of the closet as it was easy for me to say I'm a coach, right? That was woo woo back then, but oh, God forbid I should say I'm a healer. It wasn't until a few years ago that I came out and said, you know what, I'm an energy healer. Like, that's how my clients get the results that they get, is that I'm helping them shift their own energy. And that's what I do. And so when I really came to that awareness in myself, that realization and that level of acceptance, and then I was able to come out of, doing that, I got the assignment, the download, the hearing, to create this Sacred Circle of Light, which is a weekly program where people come together, they just show up, and I do healings on them. And so I hear things, I see things, I can see where the blocks are. And so this one particular woman, it was the very end of the session that day, I can hear like really clear, and they'll say things like, this person needs some kind of a supplement, where I've never even heard of the supplement or something. It's so clear, and I can see things, and they'll tell me stuff, or they'll show me pictures. And this one particular person came on, she was the last to go. And it was like, I have 2 kids. So it was like kids were talking to me at the same time like that, but it was like 9 of them. They were all talking. And I'm like, I can't hear. I can't understand what you're all trying to say to me. And I literally thought that my body and I went over, the side of my chair like that. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I could hear what was going on. But when I watched the recording, I'm straight up. I was in absolute shock, because I thought that I literally was slumped over my chair. And then they left, and I came back in, and I was crying, and the women on the call were crying. We're all like, oh my God, that was fantastic. And I thought, oh, gee, I hope that happens again. And obviously it's happened and gotten deeper. And now when they come through, they're fully embodied. I don't even know what they're saying. They'll give me pictures, give me, information as I come back into consciousness, or as I'm talking to the person. But while it's happening, I'm like taking a nap. Wow. But it was crazy to see me sitting up, just totally different energy. The way I spoke was different. The cadence in which I speak, my mannerisms, everything was just completely different. And that was the day that just completely changed my life.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Now, so it's the name of the collective, Quantum Council of Light, and there's also, there are different collectives. I've heard of like the Intergalactic Council of Light, and any comment on that? Like, is it just the individual channel's interpretation of it? And it's probably, I imagine it's different light beings, working on all of these different councils. There's the Pleiadian Council of Light, and, there's all these different ones. Yeah. What is your take on some of that, on the different collectives that people receive?
I love that question. Thank you for asking that. So what the Council of Light has told me is that every single person has their own council of light. It's like their own
Oh,
guides, their own
love it.
masters,
Yeah.
depending on where we are in our ascension.
Mm-hmm.
When we ascend, when we grow, when we get into a different consciousness, the council members may change around. We kind of graduate to
Mm,
different guides.
yeah.
And so every single person, like you were mentioning earlier before we started the recording, that you feel like you've got a council of light. You
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah,
We
of
all
course.
do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, it's like, this is the council of light that comes in, and they've got a message to share. And I'm in the perfect place to receive and also give, because I have a platform. I am a teacher. I am a coach. I have courses and things that I do. And so now and I've been teaching. The foundation for what I've been teaching for, 18 years and coaching on is the 7 essential laws.
Mm-hmm.
And so here it is. It's an extension of that. Is like, how do you take those laws and really become an energy master of your own life? And so, there's other people that might channel different councils of light where they talk about the ascension process and the different activations of divine light and different things like that. They touch on those things, but they're more interested in helping this divine being that we are, that's here incarnate as a light being, how to navigate this earth plane as a energy master.
Yes.
Right. So any contrast that we're having in our lives, whether it be in relationships or our level of success or our money or our health and well-being, anything, how do you bring the non-physical part of who we are and then really be able to unblock and be one with, get out of that victim consciousness, that separation consciousness, and really get into a place of oneness where you know that your divine self is your life partner.
Yes.
And be able to navigate, like really enjoy our lives while we're here, because we're all going to go back to non-physical.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about, just being in non-physical while we're in the physical. Like, let's enjoy the physical experience.
So that's all amazing. Some of the reason I was saying, I wonder what the overlap is and everything, and the different lessons that I have been receiving over the past year is quantum mind mastery and quantum light body activation and different things like that. And the beings, the council that I have been seeing are represented by 4 crystal light beings, pillars, and that my joining them is a 5th. And of course, I'm not saying it's obviously isolated to just 4 and I'm the 5th or whatever, but they have a quality, and a part of it is also like ultra elemental energy, because my purpose, a big part of my purpose is being a teacher of nature and spirit. Nature is spirit and spirit is nature. And I go through the portal of nature and ecology to understand universality and unity at the same time. So that's that. And they literally are like pillars of light. And actually, some people who channel, that's what it is. They see pillars of light if they have some kind of clairvoyant image of them, is always this kind of this council of light. That makes so much sense. Thanks for illuminating that. Pardon the pun.
You're welcome.
Oh, wow. So okay, the Quantum Council of Light, you have been channeling for about a year. Also, thank you so much for giving us the sovereignty that everyone has a council of light. And because there can be a tendency for because the ego likes to take charge of our spirituality too. But in the landscape of different people who are doing different things, and people who are maybe just opening up to a certain level of their metaphysical experience, and they may think, well, that person is special because they have this grand title that they get to do the thing. But everyone has their special portal. As A Course in Miracles says, all of God's children are special, and none of God's children are special. We're all just fractals.
Well, I'd love to share what the council talks about.
Yes, thank you.
So as we can see ourselves as physical human beings, right? Mm-hmm. I'll take the physical and then I'll take the mirror reflection of what the non-physical is. But you and I are created the same. We both have 2 arms, 2 hands, 10 fingers, 1 heart, 1 brain, 1 spinal cord, 2 legs. We're not running around with tails. We don't have floppy ears like dogs. We don't have beaks. We are divinely designed to be the same, in the sense that our systems work together, right? Lungs bring in oxygen, pumps blood into their systems work the same. Now, individually, with our own energy signature, with our own physical signature, our our fingerprints are different.
Yeah.
Our hair color is different. Our eye color is different. You might be taller, I'm short, so we are the same and yet very different.
Yes.
Like you were saying, we're ordinary and extraordinary at the very same time. Now, the flip side, we could see this. It's clear. We could see the difference. We're both human beings. We're both women, right? But we have different hair color. We have different eye color. There's differences. We can see that because it's a physical thing. Now, on the flip side, on the counterpart that's non-physical, we are all the same and divinely designed to have 4 quadrants, 4 aspects of our lives. That is just a given while we're here, like we have air to breathe. We are all divinely designed to have health and well-being. Our bodies know exactly what to do to get back into natural equilibrium, to be in health and well-being. We are divinely designed to have abundance in all kind, whether it's nature, the very breath that we breathe, or even financial. We're designed for that. We're designed to be a conduit, a channel for creativity, but creative self-expression that's unique to each one of us based on our own upbringing and preferences and things that we're passionate about and all those things, but to come through us and create success. And then we're divinely designed to have loving and supportive relationships with our neighbor, with our mother-in-laws, with our sister-in-laws, with our husbands, with our wives, with our kids, with our coworkers, with our bosses, with everyone, drivers down on the road, loving and supportive, kind relationships. Now, this is how we're designed, right? Like we have 2 arms, 2 hands, 10 fingers, 10 toes. Now, on top of that, now you get your own unique energy signature that comes through that unique divine design that we're all designed for. So it's like, Tricia, you have your own specific treasure chest. I have my own little treasure chest. Everybody has their own treasure chest that is full of energy, joy, prosperity, abundance, love, freedom, all of that then will translate into us being able to be in the receiving mode of that energy, to hold that. And then as creators, create that as an out picturing and an in picturing from our metaphysical and material world. So that treasure chest can never be taken from you. It can never be siphoned off. No one can ever rip it off from you. It can never be depleted, because if like you're taking it all in, it just keeps coming because it's completely unlimited. And it never can be hidden from you. It can never, you can never do anything wrong or be punished where it goes away. It's a treasure chest that is uniquely divine gifts that has our own blonde hair, brown hair, blue eyes, brown eyes, our signature for who we are as a container for the divine.
And you can see it in even our genome now, in our genetic makeup. Epigenetics is really showing us that there's a small set of our genetics that are a bit static, as you're saying, 2 arms, a head, 1 heart, all that kind of stuff, that is going to determine that I'm only going to be about 5'7". I'm not going to be 6 feet tall. It's just not, somewhere around there. There's variance, nurture, and all that. But then the bulk of those genetics we can respond to. And so they are there as an offering, as that divine design, but we can respond to them in myriad ways. And so we see it in everything, and it's just fascinating, really amazing. I love that you're saying how it is our birthright. I mean, the evidence is that we're here, that abundance is what we are. But we have that purging, as you talked about your story, and it was never enough. We have this deep conditioning of the Maya, of the illusion. And can that happen radically? I mean, I know the path is a spiral, so we're kind of flying high, and then we come back around. You're like, oh, there's a new level of something to purge, to detox, to awaken and uncover. Talk about how that can happen both spontaneously, rapidly, that expansion, and then the sustainability of it happening at a pace. Does that make sense?
I love that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, totally. And I love that question. I love the depth. I love being in these kind of conversations where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so speaking my language. So thank you.
Me too. I'm like, woohoo.
Yeah. I'm like, yay. So yes, it's both and, right? Law of polarity exists on this physical plane. So it is potential, it is probability that we could have that awakening. And that's what I love about what the council does with people, is that they find those places at the core of where they imprinted, because we came in, this complete sponge. Obviously, we're getting imprinted and we were picking up energy. We're energy receivers. We are picking that up inside our mother's womb, so we're affected by that as a soul. We went, okay, that looks like love. I've got some things to learn about there. If I remember who I am as a light being in that scenario, that's going to be fun, right? So we're being programmed as we're even being formed. But it's those places where maybe we're a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old, doesn't matter the age, is to be able to know that that's where we went, like we closed down in separation and started instead. It's almost like we went inward instead of going up and out.
Yeah.
And that's what the council does, is like, there was a moment in time where we were reaching out to mom and dad to get attention, to get love, to get some kind of acceptance, to be seen, to be heard. And we went out and they were busy. They maybe had other kids that they were taking care of. Maybe they were making dinner, and we perceived in our minds that I'm not enough.
Yeah.
And so we closed down, and instead of pulling back our energy and opening up our heart to our true divine that's always got its attention on us, that's always our source, always our supply, our protector, our provider, that holds the treasure chest. We didn't know, and our parents, probably most parents, didn't teach us or couldn't teach us that exists, because they didn't know it themselves. So it's a matter of, when you get that, you can pull back your energy, and for every place that you are imprinted with any type of limitation. Now, how do you know if you're imprinted with any type of limitation? If you have thoughts or feelings that feel bad, that's the conditioning of lack. Like I said, I teach on the 7 essential laws. And one of the ones I find is like the most important law to understand and apply as human beings is the law of sufficiency and abundance. And it's a spectrum. On one end, you have lack. On the other end, you have abundance. And right in between, at that tipping point, when you start to move into abundance, is satisfaction. Yeah. Satisfaction feels like, I'm good, I'm content. I'm not over the moon, like, wow, right? But I'm content. I could find I can feel the appreciation for this moment, for the money I have, for the person I'm with. There's a contentment. Anything that feels bad, worry, doubt, fear, anger, resentment, frustration, disappointment, sadness, powerlessness, all of that is learned conditioning. It's bounded parts of us. It's imprinted parts of us. It's not who we are. Right. And that could be wiped away very quickly when you bring in the source that can actually wipe it out.
Yes.
And so, yes, it could be a thing that just happens like, or people, it's what, wow. I find working with the council, for example, and they're realizing this power and they're feeling that connection. The part that comes in next is, well, who am I to be that powerful?
Yes.
Oh my God, who am I to just have a direct connection with the divine? And it's almost like they're scared of that power. So it's always, the universe can never assert itself, right? But the energy, the unlimited energy of love and peace and prosperity and gratitude, all of it exists for all of us in this moment, but it's what we allow in or not. So if we're struggling with money, if we're struggling in our relationships, or we're struggling to get clients, we're struggling in any aspect of our life, that struggle energy is not of the divine. And it's not like the divine's like, well, I'm going to hold out onto, it's like, we're the ones that allow it or not. Yes. So can it happen as a, yes, most likely with human beings, though, it happens as that spiral effect.
Yes.
And both and.
Yes, exactly. So we have these peaks, and then we have the sort of gradual, the sustainable. Sometimes I liken it to the teenage boy who seems to grow a foot overnight, and like, that's cool one time, but like he just that would kind of, that would been a little rough. It kept happening, even if it was like 1 inch overnight for a while. I had a powerful mental emotional release, essentially having, because I'm in an NLP, neuro linguistic programming course, to get, those tools as well. I just can't stop adding tools. But the mental emotional release, is releasing those imprints that you're talking about. And so as I just wanted to give everyone a specific story of how Christy is outlining this. And so I was looking at this. I have both a fear of poverty and a fear of success, or had, I should say. This is what I released. So that's the end result. And when I went back, as I went into the experience to find where that imprint was, for me, it was at about age 1, this one particular imprint that I was releasing. It was at about age 1. And I have a kind of snapshot of it. And it doesn't matter if it's exactly right or not. Memories are created in the moment. It's about how I am experiencing it now. But if I draw the picture, I'm around 1 year old, my mother is holding me, and she had some sort of moment that I perceived disconnection. I perceived a fear of poverty in her. I also made that mean, as from this perspective now, that I was the last child, that I was too much. My value wasn't worth it. I created fear and poverty in my mother. These are all the things I've made it mean. And I went out and I expanded and got the learnings from the soul perspective of what could have been. Like you said, instead of going in, which I went out. And so I did go out in doing this timeline realignment. And when I went out instead and brought myself back into the experience, what I learned then was compassion. My mother had taken a moment to feel disconnect, as humans do, but I had compassion for her. And I learned compassion at age 1. That's what actually I fixed, rather than learning fear of poverty and success at the same time. The reason it comes out as a fear of success, which I think is really germane to this topic and conversation, is because my mother was sort of arrested in a lack of success. And to succeed past your parents, and this is all very subconscious, unconscious, means to depart from those who are keeping you alive. And we carry that with us if it's undiscovered, a fear of success, because we don't want to exceed our parents, if that makes sense, the way I'm explaining that.
Absolutely. It's almost like in respect for them, we don't want to outdo them.
Yeah.
Right.
But a primal fear of separating from them is what we are resisting, because as a child, we are relationally, physically dependent, and we have to accept it. We have to adapt to our parents' beliefs, because if we didn't, then we would run out into the street and be worse off. You know what I mean? We needed to stay there. And so we had to adapt to it. And we don't have the mental capacity of being underdeveloped mentally, so we have to do that. And then we spend the rest of our life undoing it, right? But it's fun. It's a game, right? It's just a game.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, so you brought up an idea and a story and an example of kind of like some of the negative beliefs, right? Mm-hmm, and even with success, that we've got to limit our success. This also happens with positive emotions. Yeah. So for example, you're going along, you're feeling good, you're feeling excited about something, someone does something, says something, you get some kind of news, and then you think it's not safe to have those positive emotions. I'll give you an example from my life. I was about 6 years old, and I was at a day camp as out of school in the summer, and I had never seen a horse before. And my parents weren't horse people or whatever. And at this day camp, they brought this big, beautiful horse, and we could ride it. And I, as such an animal person, I love dogs. And I saw this horse, and I even think about this moment, and I was like, oh, I was so excited. I felt like I was going to come out of my own skin. Oh, yeah. And when they said that we could ride the horse, I was like, oh my God, I could get on top of it. And so I remember, so they put us there, no saddle, but they put 3 little girls. I was the one on the back, and that's going to let the horse ride us around. Right. Uh-huh. Well, a dog came, scared the horse. The horse bucked up. And so the horse dropped me, boom, little girl, big horse, all the way down to the ground. And then the 2 little girls landed on me. Oh. I got up. They were winded. I couldn't breathe. I wasn't only winded. I was like, I thought I was going to die, literally. And I had nobody there, like my parents or anybody that really cared about me to comfort me or to say, it's okay, just breathe. I was literally there thinking, this is it, I'm dead. And I finally caught my breath, right? So what that taught me, and I could see that play out throughout my life, I would get to a certain point of something, you get super excited that something was manifesting, or that I was creating something, or that I was about to accomplish something. And I would get so excited. And that natural instinct that if you have that much excitement, you're going to die, would kick in, and I would block my excitement.
Yeah.
People do this with joy, with happiness, with feeling good, with abundance, with prosperity, with freedom, with excitement, all of the good emotions. So it's not even just the negative emotions, it's the positive ones, just to protect ourselves.
That's so true. And actually, in the moment that I'm recalling, we were having a moment of intimacy. And so I associated intimacy with all of that. So that's what we actually, another thing that NLP teaches is that our lower mind, we'll say, or the ego or brain makes associations, but they're in the grander, in the holistic sense, they're kind of random. Like the way, if you think about it, like, but it was because there is a trauma of some kind, and then we make that association, and when it's undiscovered, then we keep replaying it, and we have those emotions that are trying to fill in the gap. They're giving us the signals that, hey, there is a misalignment somewhere in here. This isn't the natural state of being. This isn't the ascended or whatever. Then, calling us back to release the pattern. And so again, back to my question of like, can it happen spontaneously or does it happen gradually? Well, that is such a big thing that you were playing out this pattern over and over. So in a way that seemed huge, but then I'm sure when you released it, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so simple. Like if you get into it and you're like, it's so easy. There was so much pain that came from that association, and the releasing of it is actually really easy.
Yes. And as a 6-year-old, like you said, it's like apples and bananas equals pineapples. You're just trying to find whatever association makes sense, so you can make sense of this world that you are just trying to figure out, right? So it's like none of it makes sense, but it's like it's what we that's true.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, when I first started listening to my thoughts, I never questioned them. I thought that my thought is telling me this, so it must be true, right? But when you start questioning that thought, is that real? Is that true? Is that, because you get to a different level of awareness and understanding and knowledge. So now that I had that awareness, I was like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Then I was able to unimprint it, whatever, disimprint it, decrystallize it, however you want to say that. I was able to let it go,
iron it
and
out.
Let that association. So now, I get excited all the time, and I feel like, woo, I'm more alive than I've ever been when I get even more excited. So as aware as I am now, I can be that, future self to that little one and say, that's not the way of it, right? You're safe. There's an isolated incident, all is well, and break up that energy imprint so that you could be free, whether it's with prosperity or success or abundance or joy or whatever the emotion is.
And the emotion, the feelings, or the state that we have that are those, we'll identify as those bad feelings or negative emotions, that is just a symptom. It's not the actual thing. Like you're saying, the thoughts aren't real, or they're not the truth, and the state isn't real. But that's also another misassociation, I guess we could call it, that we start when we're children. It's all between the ages of 0 to 8, and then a little bit more of stuff that has to do with the outside world and relationships from 8 to 14. That's when it all really happens. And we set up these just patterns, because the main thing that the survival mechanism or ego, its most important task is to maintain homeostasis, because it says we are still alive because of how we have survived so far, and that's all it can know. And so that's what we're actually, I guess what's coming to mind now is that phrase that courage isn't not being afraid, it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And that's when you can move through the homeostasis and that really strong pull to stay the same and to just do it anyway. It's a kind of faith living, or it's a timeless present living rather than living in a past of patterns.
Well, yes, totally agree. And like what the council will share is that there's so many people that live from their imprints and live from their pain body, because if you haven't processed or understand that, right, and you're just, it's like going up to someone that has just had, 5-degree burns all over their body and then touching them, they're going to be like, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is for a lot of people that haven't processed those emotional imprints. And so they're reacting and responding from a very pain body instead of who they are as a light being, as a light body. And so emotions are one of those things that we need to become energy masters of, because our spectrum of emotions are gifts, really. They teach us where are we on the scale of abundance or lack, right? If we're feeling negative emotions, as a kind of like a pattern, like if we're constantly worrying.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have a lineage of my mother and her mother and her mother, constant worriers.
Yeah.
If there's something that, if there's breath to worry about, they're going to worry about it. So that for me, I had to really change that imprint, because being in a worry mode all the time didn't feel good. Worry is the absence of faith. So I'd rather be in a feel good, abundant state of being in faith that all things are going to work out, instead of worrying that it's not. So worry is an imprint that we learn. Fear, anger. I was also at a set point in my whole life of anger. I was that anything could touch me and make me angry. I was angry at everything. And so I had to learn how to release those anger cords and imprints. But now, as I'm moving through my life and I'm joyfully connected, when I feel a whoosh of anger about something, I'm like, I pay attention. I'm like, that was an ouch, right? if my husband says or does something, right, and I feel that whoosh of an anger, it's not what we do with the anger as far as the behavior, the raging, or, if we hurt someone else, it's feeling that emotion, really being able to process and receive the information from it, and then go, that was a boundary. That, you know what, I would prefer this instead of that.
Right.
To be able to communicate after we've processed the emotion, to then ask for what we want, or notice that I'm angry because I'm not getting what I want. I'm frustrated because I'm not getting what I want. Be able to process the emotion and then say, okay, well, what is it that I want? Why am I wanting that? How am I wanting to feel? Knowing that we're not victims, we can deliberately create what we want, and putting our emotions, that's why learning about the universal laws is so important, getting into the oneness state of what we actually want and the feeling sense of having it. We're now more empowered than staying in that level of disappointment. I never get what I want. That victim consciousness.
Right. And being able to accept that those desires that you want, you have the tools. You everything about you is, you have it to know if it's something that can manifest, because people think you get a little bit in your head, and it's like, if you feel it and you feel it from a state of love and excitement, and it's ecological, it's not going to harm anyone else. And as a matter of fact, if you take that position in the world, it's going to serve others. That's it. That's the simple formula. But the conditioning that we have is, it's so much more complex. Good girls go to school and they put on their shoes and they're quiet and they're best. You know what I mean? Like all the things that we don't want to do that seem to be out of sync with what our body and being wants to do as a kid. But that was just a state of learning so that we could come through the other side and do all of this. And so we need to be back in that place of manifesting from the truth of our being, and acknowledging it. And so, okay, so you've been doing, so for a year, you have been channeling the Quantum Council of Light, and they're a part of this. Tell us about that circle again, because I'm sure there are people going like, well, how do I get in on that?
So it's called the Sacred Circle of Light. And what it is every single week, they all show up on Zoom, and I bring in the council, and then they start working on their imprints. And it's really amazing, because they always go in like order. That's exact, like boom, 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 and it's like, it's amazing that every single session will be like a theme. Like last week we were talking about support, and one woman started the conversation of how she's not feeling supported, or she feels like she doesn't have the support that she needs. And then it became this big healing on support. And now people are looking out here for people to support them, when first they have to bring in that level of support. Once they have that feeling of being supported, then it can be reflected from people here. So it's amazing, the questions that come out, what comes through. And it's an immersion program for sure, because it's a year-long commitment. It's a weekly showing up, and just imagine you just show up and life happens, like stuff happens, right? In life, and you could be good, but just stuff can happen, and just to be able to clear your energy and be able to be in the presence of infinite intelligence, to be able to know, what's wonky or what needs to be shifted is really a gift. So I'm just very grateful that I get to be the messenger of it, or at least the channel for that.
Is it open, or is it something that is...
It is open.
Oh, it's open. Yeah. Okay, great. So people can join anytime?
Yes, it is a rotation thing. So you could join any month, that sort of thing. So, you go to my website and I have information all about it. It's ChristyWhitman.com. And yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
it's pretty remarkable.
I call it my Mystic Arts Academy, and we meet twice per month. I like that once a week, though. That's pretty good. Well, we meet about once per week too, because I'll do a guided activation meditation, something along those lines too.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about some of your books. We have a few minutes left here. I would love to hear about some of the books. You have 7. What is your what are the most recent one, or what one are you on right now?
Well, I'm just turning in a manuscript in soon called The Desire Factor, which I'm so super excited about. How, our treasure chest, right? How do we access that treasure chest? But one of my favorite books, and it was one of my books that hit the New York Times list, was The Art of Having It All. And I love the story about that, because I was at a publicity summit, and I was pitching to a bunch of different media people about another book. And I walked up to a woman that was a freelance writer for New York Magazine. And I came up to her and I thought I had the perfect pitch. I'm like, what do all New York women want? And she's like, what? And I'm like, they want it all. And she started, and I couldn't believe it, because I'm so in my own realm, and, the people that I attract, she's like, women can't have it all. And they're overtired, they're overworked, they're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, and we got to get real. And she's like, I want you to read this book. I'm not going to name it because I'm worth reading. I did read it and it infuriated me, how we have to just make a choice. And I'm like, what are we in the 40s and the 50s again, that you can't have what you want? And so she was saying to me, she's like, women can't have it all. And she goes, you know anybody that has it all? And I said, yeah, I have it all. And I said, I know many other of my clients that have it all. And I started talking about what that even means.
Right.
And she goes, here, she handed me back my stuff. And she goes, I won't be needing this because I don't believe women can have it all. And I said, and therein lies the problem.
Right. Whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. Right.
So I was like, talk about an activation. I'm like, there are people actually arguing for limitations. Yeah. And hello, people don't say that to men. They don't go, you can't have it all.
Right.
And it's like, here's what got my goat. It's like, I'm a deliberate creator connected to infinite possibilities and the creator that's breathing me in my very breath. Who is anybody to tell me what I can or cannot have? Right. Who is anybody to tell me how I should limit myself? Because you don't even know what my it and all is.
I was going to say, you don't even know what your all is. Your all is your all, and my all is my all. So how could you possibly know I couldn't have it all? How could you even know that? And that's going by some outside structure that is being imposed. That's not how nature works. Ecology doesn't work that way. We aren't all one being. That's just simply not. Even the trees in the forest have variation one from the other, because that's how symbiosis works. So it just doesn't even make any sense. Like, you're really coming from some kind of rigid austerity that makes no sense for ecology, for nature.
Yeah. So I had to go back to my room because I was so ignited. Yeah. And within 2 weeks had that, first of all, the book downloaded through me. And it was like I was writing and writing for hours in my room. And then for about 2 weeks after that, it was like more was coming through. And it is a book that has changed a lot of people's lives, because of the fact that you get to have permission.
Yeah.
There's people that actually, women and especially, we're not asked. Ask ourselves, God, what would I love in that aspect of my life? What would I love if I could have really what I want in every single aspect of my life right now, in the decade that I'm in the place and phase of my life? What do I want? Because it changes from decade to decade. I don't want the same things now as I wanted when I was in my 20s or my 30s, and I'm almost out of my 40s. I'm sure that my 50s are going to be different. It's like it changes with us as we change and evolve. And I don't want the same thing as my best friend. I've known her since 7th grade. She's always been aware. She never wanted to get married, never wanted to have kids. She's in a 30-year relationship, completely content, doesn't have children, has her great life. And, she doesn't want the 2.5 kids. I don't know how you could have a kid anyway, but it's like, we have this, it's the husband, it's the this, it's the that. For me, it is having a significant, intimate relationship and committed in that way. It is having my family, my 2 boys. It is having a career that I just absolutely love, that I feel like I'm on purpose with. It is having time for myself to feed and nourish my body and to work out. I mean, it is having fun experiences. That's for me.
Yeah.
And having a thriving career for one woman looks different than another woman.
Yes.
It's all different. We get to create it. So that's why I was like, who is anybody to, first of all, why are there people still arguing this age of abundance?
Yeah.
Why are there people still arguing for limitations? It's because that's where I was over 20 years ago. I didn't know there's a difference. I didn't know there was a different way. So
yes, absolutely. And the part of the arguing for those limitations is it's one of those imprints saying, don't feel happy, don't feel good, because something will happen that will give you disappointment. But you see, that doesn't, again, there's no logic there. So then you live your life trying to not die rather than living your life and eventually dying anyway. It's kind of that illogic. So,
yes, it's the difference between survival mode and thriving mode.
Yes, surviving and thriving. Yeah. Yes, amen. Wow, this has been so exciting. I feel like we could talk for another 13 hours.
I know, right?
I'm really excited to know that your Sacred Circle of Light, is that what it's called again? Mm-hmm. And we'll have links for all of Christy's, everything she's talked about. Links are in the description, however you are listening or watching. And I'm really excited to hear that is open, because I think I'm going to have to get in on that. It sounds amazing.
You would love it.
Wow. So this has been so wonderful, everyone. Christy Whitman, go check out she has a Facebook page as well, and Instagram. All of those links are there. Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up this fantastic quantum light expanding episode?
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Yes, just that each one of us, it is what we talked about, that honestly, like any place inside of you that feels that you're in lack, or just feels that you can't have what you want, or feels limited in some way, just know that that's not who you really are. Mm-hmm. And that there is a part of you, a light being. Mm-hmm. It's like the crack in a very dark room that's full of light. That crack exists. That light exists. Who you really are is not this pain body, is not the limitations. It's not the drama and the struggle and their survival mode and the suffering. You are a light being, and any place that you have any kind of contrast in your life, that is such a gift and an opportunity for you to bring in more of that light, because that just shows you a place that you're in separation consciousness instead of one consciousness. And so that's the fun journey that we all get to take as human beings, is looking at where's our bugaboo areas and figuring there's nothing to it. It's all energy.
Yes. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for all of the work that you do on our beautiful world and in our beautiful universe. Really such a pleasure to connect with you and to talk with you. I thank you for blessing me and for blessing everyone here on this broadcast.
Thank you so much, Tricia. I appreciate you having me here, and you too. Thank you for the phenomenal work. It's an honor to serve next to another wonderful light being.
Thank you. Well, everyone, thank you too. So much gratitude and appreciation for everyone who's connecting with this episode. Do go check out Christy's work. Go check out all the links, and catch us next week. We'll be back Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific with the live, or you can catch it on the YouTube or the podcast outlet. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are. And I wanted to share my experience of the Intuitive Intensive with Crystal Ann Compton and Tricia Carr.
The Intuitive Intensive was life-changing.
I truly believe that the program is life-changing.
Life-changing. There we go, done. Life-changing.
I am a intuitive reader, channel, and a psychic development teacher and coach. These are not words that I thought I would be describing myself as at the beginning of 2018. Sitting here as a graduate of the Intuitive Intensive, I can tell you how powerful the teachings are Christy Whitman Compton, the founder of the Lightworkers Lab, and Tricia Carr. Sorry. I do love them so very much, and I am so grateful for the teachings that they have taught me through this course.
I knew I had gifts, and I knew that I had some spidey skills here and there, but I didn't really understand what they were, and I didn't really know how to utilize them effectively in my life for my own mind, body, spirit alignment.
There are so many things in my life that were not explained. As I got through the materials, more and more things in my life became clear.
I've seen the changes that the members that have gone through the first one have made in their lives. I see their gifts expanding from non-believer to maybe I can do this, to practicing and expanding and encompassing who they are.
I came into the Intuitive Intensive not even knowing if I had any gifts, spiritual gifts at all. And if I did, if I could even get to them or awaken them. I did not have that faith in myself.
There was much more than was presented in the listing of things that we were going to learn.
The first part is classes, and I took in information. And seed by seed went into my head, and seed by seed went into my heart, and I started accepting these truths that they teach. They're beautiful, beautiful truths.
And once I took the course, it was completely contextualized for me. All my years of spiritual pursuit really became clear in understanding A, what intuition is, how to utilize it to better my relationship with myself, with spirit, and even with others.
The group became amazingly cohesive, and a lot of those people I reach out to today, and I made a lot of friends with people of very like interest. It was a really safe space. We were able to do readings and get coaching that was just amazing.
At some point, it's time to step out and practice. And I had a lot of fear around that. I had never read for anyone else. I'd never really even read for myself. I shoved my fear aside and volunteered for one of the practice sessions at the start with Tricia Carr, actually doing kind of coaching split screen. I had never done a reading. Wasn't even sure if I could do any of this. I now have a business. I have now booked clients are coming to me to get readings from me. I love doing readings. I don't get nervous about them at all. If you want to further your spiritual gifts, or if you're like me and didn't even know if you have any and totally doubt yourself.
I know that if you say yes, and I know that if you have the intent to expand, that you will be able to encompass these gifts in your daily life.
I look back on the year 2018 and I can't imagine where I would be without the class. It was life-changing.
Sign up for the Intuitive Intensive. Just keep saying yes and be open and go forward with your heart and with love, and you'll get to where you want to go.
Really fun.